what we want to show you here is how UC Web and the solution, the enterprise solution, can help you, the property manager, become audit ready. One of the things that with UC Web, this is the front screen, the home screen, and what you'll notice is you got different statistics out here. And with the statistics, you got UIDs and you got assets. So UIDs could be on the acquisition side, and that's UIDs that you're delivering to the government on an acquisition contract. And then usually on the asset side, you'll have your property, your assets. Now you can have what you need in order to comply with 52245-1. You can have assets that have UIDs on them, and I'll go into that in a little while. But you've got some statistics here that show you exactly, assets that don't have locations associated to them, haven't been inventoried, and then parts that don't have or assets that don't have part numbers. And then this one right here is check in, check out on the property side. And I'll go into that asset detail actually right now. So in the asset detail, I picked this particular location, and with this system with UC Web, you have the ability to do filters. And the filter I'm doing here is by location, like data center X. So that's the filter that we're looking at. If I wanted to look at a different location, I could do that. But from an asset readiness, or not an asset, but an audit readiness standpoint, I'm going to go into the meat of how UC Web keeps you, compliant and audit ready. So here's a detail record, and within this asset detail record, you can see we're already complying to some of the data elements within 52245-1. We've got our receive date here, and this is all data that we put in. We've got the value, we've got the unit of measure. We even have condition code, even though that's not one of the elements. But we've got a lot of information on this particular item. And this is what allows you, in the case of an audit, if a DCMA auditor wants to look at your records, you can see these records are complete and very thorough from that standpoint. Also, I have a custodian here, as you can see. That would be myself. Here's the last time it was inventoried on this particular date, which was today at 12:55. What I will tell you is also we have a feature where, let's say you are servicing an item, it's coming in, you know that an item is going to come in for service, or you just went out to that location and you interacted with that particular asset. So let's say you said, okay, I know that asset is there. I just saw it. You can do what is called an inventory by exception, which is right here, and you can record that inventory. And if you take a look at it, the inventory time, date, stamp has changed to 2/22, which is the time right now, Eastern Standard. And you see that right there. And then you also have the location. So this is another data element within 52245-1. You have warranty information in here as well, even that's not part of it, but you do have it. You also have 30 customizable fields in which you can add custom information that is relevant to your organization. In this case, this person wants to track the PO number, and they want to track, if an item is sensitive or not. So moving on, if you have any kind of calibration, as you can see right here, all that information can be captured here with dates. What UC Web does also is if you have an item that needs to be calibrated, it'll give you alerts as the date starts to draw near, and then you can manage it from that perspective. So you'll either get a text or an email. The admin will be alerted that the particular item needs to be calibrated. Another element or part of the 10 data elements within 52245-1 is part number. So we've got the part number here, and it's nice and snug, and we've got a picture of the asset from that perspective as well. So when we switch it up from an auto ID technology perspective, here is where we kind of differentiate from other systems out in the market today. So with UC Web, you can track both items with an RFID tag. So I can do an inventory with RFID, and what we will do is with your follow-up email, we will attach the video that will show the demonstration on RFID. And the RFID demonstration will be on both fixed, which would be your gateways that will track an item as they move through a facility, as well as the mobile option as well. And with the fixed, you'd need a fixed reader at each location that you decide, and now you're tracking assets in their last known location as they move through a facility. So with this solution here that you're looking at, you have the ability to do that. Now that in by itself is significant, but at the same time, I can apply my UID as well. So I can track with barcode, I can track with RFID. If this was a 1D string, I could track with that as well. This is a UID, so this particular record is thoroughly in line with what the government's looking for and complies to 52245-1. I have my UID, I have my part number, and I have all the information required to pass an audit. And it's all being consolidated into one system, one record. And I've got the ability to do fast and quick inventories using RFID because I don't need line of sight to that particular item. And I can track it in a bunch of different ways, either with the handheld, mobile, and go out and engage with either a mobile or a tablet, or I can use the fixed reading options as well. So that's one of the areas I want to stress in terms of when inventories are frequent and items move frequent. That equation equals RFID solving the problem, because RFID is going to be able to allow you to go out and do inventories more frequently and quicker and more efficient. And what you'll see in the video is our Pro-Locate option as well. So what Pro-Locate does is, think of yourself being in an audit, and the DCMA auditor says, I want you to find these 10 items, and you go to the 10 items, you find every one except one. So you got one item that's out there. If you have it tagged with an RFID tag on it, you can use our Pro-Locate option to then hone on that particular asset via the RFID tag. And although there might be hundreds of RFID tags around, it will only hone on that specific one. And as it gets closer to that item, it will beep in a rapid succession. So you're able to then find that item and have full accountability. And that, when you're looking at audits being frequent and more intense, that gives you the ability to find something in a reasonable amount of time. So I wanted to touch on that piece, but I'm going to go through some of the items here. And before as I wrap up the 10 data elements, one of the elements is a accountable property number. So you've got this particular item is a custody contract, and here's the contract number. So it's attached to a record. But within UC Web, you can add facts to a particular item, any type of events that happen to an item. If something gets damaged, you can have all that information here. And this right here is probably the most significant, or one of the most significant, is I've got a complete history of all the things that happened to this asset since it was created. So I've got my with dates and details in terms of what was done. So as you can see here, I just created this asset on the 18th, but I've got everything that was done to it and by whom. So that's a good thing. If this item needs to be registered, we can register it here. What is very intuitive about UC Web is it gives you the ability to show what actually needs to happen in order to complete the registration. So I've got some work I need to do. I need to add these items here, as well as the affixment, showing that as well. And then I can send this off to the registry for registration. So it's very intuitive. The business rules are very robust, and it's not going to let you register bad data. It's going to allow you to put in data that is relevant and that you'll probably never see a duplicate, because we're doing a lot of things on the back end to ensure that doesn't happen. So we can add photos. So if I wanted to add some photos to this particular item, I could do that as well. Also, any kind of documentation. With this particular asset, I'm going to add, I added the spec sheet, and it's in the PDF or PDF format, and I can take a look at anything I need to on this particular asset. So I've got, I pretty much covered all of the elements within 52245-1 within this particular area and within the asset detail. Let me show you what, and we'll move back to some of these items later on. But let me show you, and this right here is a item that we're going to process a 1149, or we're going to show either a change of custody. But this is the contract that particular asset is associated to. And it's just loading. So every contract, and here's all the information for the contract: the number, the name, the assets that are associated. Now, with UC Web, all this data was, as you start in the asset detail, all the data in the asset detail gets repurposed in different areas. So if I need to pull data and associate something to a contract, then what's going to pull is the unit of measure, the cost. There's no retyping that needs to be done here. It's all being pulled. So as I do that, I pull this from my assets. I associate it to a shipment here, and here's the shipment that it's associated to. And let's go into the shipment. That's some information about it. Again, there's the contract, who it's going to. And with the addresses, these are automatically populated as you add in the enterprise. So when you add the enterprise, you set up the addresses, you type them in once, and then they show up. There's no retyping of addresses. You just type in this number here, this AB025, and all this information flows in. We've got it on as a line item, and as you can see, the unit of measure each matches what was back here in the asset detail, and the unit price, as well as the currency as well. If you look over right here, what you'll see is the 1149. So I can submit an 1149, or I can register this straight into the IUID registry and be done. And what you'll see is there isn't 13, 14, 15 steps. I've just repurposed all the data that's in my asset detail, and I moved it over into my contract, pulled it in, and I can just click the button here, and that would be registered into the IUID registry. I'm going to show you what the 1149 looks like, and hopefully it pops up pretty quick. So here's my 1149 that I can send off to the receiving entity. You've got the addresses that you saw laid out on the form. You've got the important dates, the bill of lading, received, when it needs to be received. Right here, you have the item number as well as the description, and then you have the actually the UID here, unit of measure, quantity, and here's all your financial information. I didn't have to type anything. All this information came in just by selecting and putting that on the DD 1149 or just the 1149. So as you can see, automated process, less typing, and we're not doing too many things basically that are manual unless we're setting up the contract in the beginning. That's kind of where it stands from that perspective. So that's my contract, and I want to show you guys the 1149. Let me show you real quick how to set up an inventory with UC Web. And we're tracking with barcode, we're tracking with RFID. Here's an inventory that I just set up. It's a lab. I'm the contact person. Here's the start date. It's open. And once I find all the assets, then I can close it out. But I'll hit reconcile here. And anything in red is going to show up missing. As you go out and do scans, they'll move over from the red column over into the green column. Anything I go into a location that is not expected to be there will show up as excess assets. Now, if I want to accept them as to be in that location, I can accept them, and now the location will automatically change to that location which I'm doing the inventory. If I don't want to accept them, I can just unscan them and then close out my inventory. When I close out the inventory, what will happen as well is that a new date will be assigned. That new inventory date will be assigned to that asset, showing that it's been inventoried. So that's the inventory options. And with the video, you'll see how, from a mobile perspective and from a fixed reading perspective, how the inventories work, and you'll have a good understanding of how quickly, easy, and efficient it is to do inventories using UC Web. I'm going to switch to unserialized items, stock. So if I've got stock that I've got to track, and stock usually lines up with PCARs, here are items I have here. I'm going to pick this particular one. This is giving me, an account on hand, reorder status at. So if I've got items in which I want to be able to reorder at, I can do that and set those limits in the system. What it'll also do is it'll text me once it gets down to a specific level that we're getting low, and at the 25, that's when it will do it. If I need to grab stock, all I need to do is just say, yep, I need 50 items here. I'm going to take them, and then it will decrement from the stock. So now I had 235, now I have 185. Now if I need to go back and say, oh, I just got a new shipment in, I want to replenish, then I can do that as well. And let's say I got 100 in, and we can get that done as well. So, I mean, as you can see, this is fairly easy, and we're back up to the stock levels. If I go into this, into the asset detail, select this one, go into the asset detail. This is what the description is, and again, it's all about accountability. So if you're dealing with your DCMA or your plan officer, right here, you've got a total accountability of what happened to this particular stock locator and who did what and when they did it. So it's all about accountability on all sides. So I wanted to show you that piece of it. And then PCARs from a high level, and we're going to send the PCARs video as well, so you guys can get an understanding of that. There'll also be some training and some videos around PCARs. But our PCAR solution gives you the ability to eliminate the need for a spreadsheet. Because again, remember, and this is the theme of this whole webinar. We're repurposing data that's already entered into the system. The data's in the system. All we're doing is moving, massaging, and grabbing it. So with PCARs, I can load up my PCAR schedule and I can say, okay, I got these items here, whether they're serialized or non-serialized, add them to my PCAR schedule, and then move them up into PCARs without the use of doing anything with a spreadsheet, because UC Web takes the data that's repurposed in the system and builds the flat file that you can then go up into PCARs and load. So this cuts your time in terms of doing PCARs transactions down tremendously. I can guarantee that. And what I would say, keep your eyes peeled, because we'll probably be having a more in-depth PCARs demo. I'm giving you the high level, and you'll get a sense of it, because we'll attach the PCARs video either to the email on the follow-up, or we'll provide that at a later point. But you'll be able to see the power and how this changes the game. And again, PCARs is one of the data elements from a disposition perspective that you need to comply to 52245-1. So this is a system that's providing you all and handling all the data elements with ease, and allowing you to repurpose a lot of the data and be able to navigate through through some of the government requests that happen in regards to audits. So there's one other area I wanted to show you guys, and that's and we work with some of our customers when they're going through audits with this. So what you have with this filtering capability is really the ability to start grabbing data and doing different queries and understanding about what's going on with your data. And you can also save these filters in the system. So you can just hit the filter and then understand what you need, or get the data you need. What I'm going to focus on this particular illustration, I'm going to show you how, if you're preparing for an audit, what some of the things UC Web can do to help to make sure you understand your vulnerabilities before an audit happens. So I can say, we know that those 10 data elements are going to be looked at from the DCMA or from the government. So I've got this audit prep data filter that's going to look at UIIs. It's going to look at location. It's going to look at ownership code. It's going to look at date received. Some of the things that the DCMA asks, besides understanding if they can find an item. Now, if I run this particular filter, I'm going to apply it. Here are all the vulnerable items I have in regards to, if I'm under an audit, here's what I'm susceptible of getting dinged on. So all those different items that I checked off, then I need to go in and look at them and say, okay, who's the custodian, who owns these items, why isn't there a receive date, why isn't there a UII associated? But again, I have, and if you look at it right down here, I've got 3,244 records or assets, but of them that are government, and I'm only looking at the government because, again, I can have corporate assets, I can have CAP, I can have assets delegated in different ways, but I did this search on my government assets. I've got 98 assets that have a severe deficiency in the standpoint of no UII, no location, no receive date. And I have a customer that's exactly what the DCMA came in and said, well, show me all of the assets that you received in the last year from this particular contract. And again, they can go into the registry and look at all those, look at that data so they know. And this gives you the power and the ability, through setting these filters up, to be able to go in and now understand where you're vulnerable and have a corrective action plan of your own to go in and say, hey, these are the things we need to correct in order to pass the audit. So again, UC Web giving you the ability to filter through data. I mean, you don't, these are now, the other thing you can do is you can export this out of the system. And let's say you want to take these 99 items and you want to, export this particular report, and you've got the ability to do that here. And we'll just put this as 2.3. It's going to come up as a CSV file, and we'll wait for that to be done. And I'm going a little off the reservation with this, but I just want to show you how easy it is to, pull data out of the system. So we pull this particular data out of the system, and if we want to do any type of analyzing, we could do that with the different data visualization products that are out there on the market to get some more in-depth ideas of what's going on within our data. So I wanted to show you guys that because I think it is, it is key when you're trying to understand where you're vulnerable in terms of an asset. So being able to go through this and understand is only, is going to help you down the road. There was another filter I wanted to show you, and I did a quick one that was, I think, was just on, this was on PrEP. This is just government property. So this is just government property information where I haven't done a inventory this year. So here's all my government property assets, and they all, as you can see, they all have a date of 2017. This one probably crept in. I don't know how it did, but these are the ones I need to go out and take a look at. I can see right here, this guy here, 2016. So I need to put some attention on that. And again, I have the custodian, because the way the system works is you have permanent custodian and you can track the chain of custody. Now with that custodian, I can go to Sharrieff Christmas, who's myself, and say, well, what's going on? Why haven't these things been inventoried? So again, giving you the ability to understand what's going on with your data. All your data is in one repository, and within that repository, now you have the ability to filter through it. So again, we're going to go back, back to this particular filter. Again, these are just different views in which I'm looking and slicing my data. I've got different assets out here. This particular one is associated to this contract, and so forth. So it's not just one record. It's not, it's a myriad of records in terms of the completeness of those records. All the data is there, and it can be repurposed for PCARs, for reporting into government systems. And again, this is all within one system, leveraging the best of auto ID technology. So